Good evening and welcome to this very special edition of the Rolex Yachtsman and Yachtswomen of the Year. Unfortunately, because of COVID, we're unable to give an award out for the year 2020, even though there was a little bit of sailing around the waterfront, not enough to give out the award. However, we thought it was important that we continue this long tradition association with Rolex and have a special night, a night where we're going to talk with four former recipients of the Rolex Yachtswomen of the Year. We're going to introduce them in just a minute and understand where our sport is, where it's heading. And for me, this is a particular honor. I've been now part of this event for 41 years, and this is my 26th time as being the MC. So I feel very honored to be part of it and to get a chance to talk to these outstanding women sailors. Before we introduce them, I'd like to introduce you to Corey Certal, an Olympian, a two-time winner of the Rolex Yachtswoman of the Year, and currently president of U.S. Sailing. Corey, welcome.
Thank you, Gary, and thanks for hosting tonight's special celebration of these great American Sailing Awards. My name is Corey Certal, and I am the president of U.S. Sailing. Tonight, we're really excited to welcome back past winners of this prestigious award for a fun night of storytelling and discussions about where the sport of sailing is heading in the United States. I want to give a special thank you to Rolex Watch USA and the commitment that Rolex has made over the past 40 years to the sport of sailing and to U.S. sailing. It's truly been a special partnership that we've had with Rolex over the years. U.S. Sailing is sad that we didn't have a chance to present these awards for the year of 2020 during the past situations in our country and across the world. But we look forward next year in 2021 to bringing this award back. But tonight we have a very special presentation, a look back in the last 40 years of the presentations of this award. And we thank you, and we hope you enjoy tonight's program.
Thank you very much, Corey, and I certainly look forward to seeing you around the waterfront this coming summer. Before we meet our panelists, we have a short video we'd like to present called Common Threads. It's a little tribute to our sponsor, Rolex, and we hear from the women that we're going to listen to and some of the other great Rolex Yachtswomen of the Year. Being named the best in your sport is an honor to be treasured. Every year since 1961, U.S. Sailing has recognized outstanding performances in sailing. Rolex has proudly sponsored the Yachtsman and Yachtswoman of the Year award since 1980. Rolex timepieces are the watch of choice for sailors all over the world. The honorees are presented with a new Rolex. Previous winners have included Olympic medalists, world champions, America's Cup winners, record setters, and around-the-world victors. While the disciplines in sailing are very different, the quest for excellence comes from within.
There's no wave that's ever the same, there's no puff that's ever the same. So it's not like going onto a basketball court and you say, okay, we're gonna run play 3.
In foiling, we can go so fast in such little wind. It can be blowing 5 knots and we'll still race, and we can be going 20 knots around the course.
Thanks to ever-advancing technology, sailors are able to improve their performance. The best advice for aspiring champions is to embrace both the art and science of sailing.
To me, it's giving back and encouraging people to achieve their personal best.
All champions learn from their mistakes and are able to overcome adversity. For a young sailor, what you learn is often more important than how you finish.
You almost learn more from the races that you don't do well, and so, when you have a bad day, you think, okay, well, that just gave me a lot of stuff to learn.
There is great satisfaction when you reach your goal. Success inspires even greater achievement.
To be the best at a sport or a job or, a vocation or avocation just takes hard work, discipline, and a love for what it is that you're doing.
If you stop having fun, then everything else becomes extremely difficult.
No matter what, I just want to be having fun and enjoying my time out on the water.
Well, that sort of gets your heart going when you hear from these Rolex Yachtswomen of the Year who've done so much over the years. And every one of our panelists is a multiple time winner, which is impressive in itself. And as I said earlier, I feel quite honored here tonight to be able to ask some questions. And we look forward to your questions, which you can send on chat, and we'll monitor that a little bit later in the program. So here we go. We're going to start off with Betsy Allison, longtime friend of mine. Like me, she grew up in Barnegat Bay, New Jersey. She currently lives in one of the wonderful sailing parts of the world, Newport. You can see her sailing on an escape little sailboat there for a promo film a few years ago. She went on to Tufts University, got her degree there, and was a standout at Tufts, racing in Boston and up and down the Mid-Atlantic and East Coast. And from there, Betsy ended up being a five-time, just think about that, five-time Rolex Yachtswoman of the Year, winning the honor in 1981, 1982, 1984, 1993, and 1998. Betsy, that's a 17-year run that you were able to do that. And more recently, the last decade or so, she's been our Paralympic coach, working with sailors that are so passionate and do well, and along the way has won several medals in the Paralympic Games. And she's currently the chair of World Sailing's Paralympic Committee. Betsy, we look forward to our discussion. Welcome.
Thank
and
you.
then continuing on, JJ Fetter came from a sailing family. Her father, Tom, and Jane from San Diego, really good junior sailor. And then went on to Yale University, got her degree, was again a standout in collegiate sailing, and gravitated to the 470 class in Barcelona in the Olympics, 1992. JJ ended up with a bronze medal. And 8 years later, she was back in Sydney. Here's a few pictures that we're looking at. And she ended up with a silver medal in the Olympic Games. She also had a little play in the America's Cup at one point. And right now, JJ is working very hard on our Olympic program and helping work to select our Olympic athletes that'll be sailing in Tokyo in just a few months. It's supposed to be Tokyo 2020, but it's Tokyo 2021. So welcome, JJ. Next up, Anna Tunnicliffe Tobias. Oh my goodness gracious. When I first saw Anna sailing for Old Dominion University down in Lake Travis, Texas, she was setting the world on fire. But little did I know that she would become one of the outstanding female athletes of this era. She was Rolex Sailor of the Year for World Sailing. And here in the United States, she was the Rolex Yachtswoman of the Year 4 times, 08, 09, 2010, and 2011. She made the Olympic team for Qingdao, China in 2008. And I'll never forget that final race, which I was watching live at the time, commentating for NBC, where you had that miracle downwind leg and captured and clinched a gold medal, which was quite an achievement. And she sailed in the Olympics again in Weymouth, England in 2012, London 2012, and ended up 5th in the match racing. One of Anna's great attributes is physical training is really important. She's kept on with that. We'll talk about that a little bit more. And then Daniella Moroz, who broke on the scene in kiteboarding. And she didn't have any real sailing background before getting on the kiteboards, but she took the world by storm, winning world championships. At a very young age, I think the youngest ever, was named our Rolex Yachtswoman of the Year in 2016. And just a year ago, she won it in 2019. And we were together in San Diego for that celebration. Like JJ, she is from California. And I have a gut feeling we might see you getting another Rolex sometime in the future if you keep it up, particularly with kiteboards getting into the Olympic Games. So bravo, welcome, and we'll have a little fun tonight. So I look forward to it. So let's just quickly go around the horn. So Betsy, give me a quick update. What are you up to today?
Well, lots of things, Gary. Been working from home for a year for U.S. Sailing. I'm actually the director of adult programs at U.S. Sailing, so doing everything in administration from safety at sea to keelboat schools, powerboat education, adaptive sailing, and our U.S. Sailing Adult Championship. So it's been a busy time, and we're looking forward to ramping up after last year's COVID break. And, sailing's good, and I think this is going to be a wild year.
Good. I think everybody's hungry to get back out in the water. Well, JJ, I have to ask you to kick off here. How are our preparations going with our Olympic team? Looking forward to Tokyo 2021.
Well, it's really exciting right now. We're just a few days away from the 470 World Championships in Portugal. So we not only have Stu McNay and Dave Hughes in the men's 470, but we have the three women's teams that are all within 3 points of each other for their final selection event. And there are two teams who are gearing up for the 470 when it becomes a mixed class for 2024. So the future is looking bright.
And when will that be resolved? Who our U.S. representative will be?
So the third event for the selection event for the women's 470 starts March 8th at this World Championship in Portugal. So it should wrap up, in mid-March. We should know.
All righty. Anna, I'm trying to read your sign there. It says no silver. What do you have over your head there on that song? Anna, can you hear us at all? No stupid people. Okay. Well, we'll try not to be stupid here. Yeah, we'll come back to you. I think we're having a little internet problem, so I'll move on to Daniela. So, Danielle, have you been out? I mean, with this COVID era, have you been out kiteboarding of late?
I've been kiting a lot, actually. I'm in Mexico right now, in the middle of a training camp, actually, and it's been super good. And I feel super lucky to still be able to train and be out on the water with the whole team. And getting better. It's been really good.
Well, I mean, you've been pretty good for the last several years. I don't know how you get any better, but practice makes perfect, correct?
Yeah, trying to get better.
All right. Anna, are you with us now?
I am sorry. Yes, I'm back.
Okay, very good. I was looking at your sign over your head there, and we'll try no stupid people. So we'll try to be intelligent here. So are you going to be involved in the games as a coach or advisor, or do you have any role coming up for Tokyo 2021?
I don't have any role currently, no. I did a little coaching of Steph and Maggie down in Miami when they were down there before they headed over to Portugal, or Spain or wherever they're at right now. I just like I'll help out however I can, help the sailors and athletes prepare the best they can, and that's right now that's what we're doing.
Well, being named our Rolex Yachtswomen of the Year 4 times, 4 years in a row, did that give you some opportunity to inspire some of the young sailors around the country, Anna?
Sorry. I always hope to inspire young sailors to follow their dreams, particularly young female athletes, whatever their sport, but particularly in sailing. I think the cool thing of sailing is that it is a very, anybody can do it and anybody can compete against each other. And I think that's really cool. So being able to inspire women and girls to follow their dreams, and give it their best is kind of what I hoped to have done a little bit.
Well, I think you followed your dream, and that worked out pretty well. JJ, you had a pretty good collegiate career, if I remember, at Yale. And did that help you, your collegiate sailing, with your 470 sailing when you got into the Olympics and going to all those world championships?
I definitely think it did. And I'm sorry, my big dog is barking in the background, so my audio has been great. But the number of starts and races that you do in college, it's an awesome chance to really get your tactics at the very top level. So I loved college sailing, and I'm really proud I was an All-American.
Very cool. So, Betsy, are we going to see our Paralympic sailors back in the Paralympic Games sometime in the future?
Well, I certainly hope so. We've been working really hard at World Sailing to do our best to get the parasailing back in the games. As we all know, sailing can be a little political at times, so we're doing our due diligence and trying to work with some outside help in terms of whether it's, I don't want to say lobbying efforts, but putting sailing in front of the IPC board and the public in a light where, it only makes sense to put us back in. So over the next 18 months is going to be a critical period for us. And, for the sailors that are out there, all the parasailers that are doing a great job, whether they be blind sailors or with physical disabilities, sailing has been such an inclusive, positive impact in their lives, and it would be a shame if we can't get us back into the rotation for the games and back on the podium.
I've been to a couple of the World Championships, Paralympic Worlds over the years, and it's so heartening to be with them because, they just talk about sailing. Why did I go to the left side of the course or, boat handling things? And it's no different than the rest of us that go out sailing, which is quite heartwarming. So, Daniela, we're watching these foiling boats down in Auckland. I hope to be watching them again soon. I'm not sure what's going on right now. But on the kiteboards, how much faster you go when you're up on the foil as opposed to when you were on the water?
We are significantly faster than we were when we were on formula boards or race boards, which was the 3-fin big floaty boards. And I think that foiling has really just transformed the game for us. I think overall we're just so much more efficient and we're able to go vastly bigger distances than we ever were before and kite in almost no wind. I think our rule is officially 5 knots, but I think a lot of us have kited in even less. So just shows you how much more efficient it's gotten and how the sport has developed over the last several years.
When you say you go further, is that a longer course or just more speed? What do you mean by go further?
Both. Yeah. I mean, our courses are usually, it depends on the event, but it'll be like half a mile to almost a mile from the gate or the start line to the top mark. And our courses can be, the length is between like 10 to 15 minutes, depending on how long it is. But yeah, it's significantly longer than what we were doing before.
And how fast are you going? What's the top speed on the boards?
That's a very popular question. Up when we go 18 to 23 miles per hour, give or take, and down when we're hitting high 30s pretty comfortably.
How do you keep those the sheets or guys or lines from tangling with each other here when you have so many boards out there?
When we're all stacked up on the line like that, it can definitely get pretty tight. And I think that now recently everyone has gotten so much at their kite control and boat handling and everything that we don't really have those kind of incidents happening as often as you would think. You just got to stay in control.
You got to stay in control and everything. Anna, you were really worked hard on your physical training and in laser radial and of course in the match racing with the Elliots. How important was that, now looking back, your physical training to help you with your performance at the Olympics?
I think it was huge. I think in our sport, there's so many things that are out of our control, like the wind. We do our best guess to read that. We can't control what our competitors do, really. So, the few things that you can control, I think it's really important to take maximum control of, and fitness is one of those things. If you can be as fit as you can possibly be and be, in the best shape of your life for an event, then that's one less thing you have to worry about. And you can focus on the things that you need to spend all your energy on, as in what is the wind going to do or you think it's going to do, and what do you think your competitors are going to do, and not have to worry about oh, I'm tired and I'm getting mentally tired. You've done the training ahead of time to put yourself in a strong position to be able to do what you're there to do.
So when you're in good physical shape, you feel like you make better decisions because you're not tired?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think you have the energy to expend elsewhere, right? So, if you're fitter, doing the same task as somebody else, doesn't exert as much energy for you in a way because, you're fit enough to do it better than somebody else. And then you have the ability to go longer with it. And, the more you can stay physically refreshed, I think the better you can stay mentally refreshed. And since our game is so mental as well as physical, that I think that's a huge advantage you can have over your competitors.
Yep. So JJ, our overall American Olympic performance in the last couple quads has not been up to our standard that we've been set for quite a long time, with one bronze medal in Rio and no medals at all in London. So what are you and the rest of the Olympic Committee doing to try and improve America's performance here in Tokyo and then in Paris and in LA after that?
Gosh, I thought you were going to ask me about my physical fitness. So,
Oh, we can get to that.
This is an equally tough question. I think one huge thing that's happened is, what America One and organizations like that have been funding our Olympic development program. And, I think there is a huge group of young sailors in this country who are getting into Olympic equipment. I mean, I mentioned before about the two teams that are over, who have their eye on 2024 and the 470, who are already at the World Championship. They're training out of Oak Cliff. So Oak Cliff is doing amazing things to train up young sailors. We're seeing a huge amount of interest in the youth world classes around the country and high level ODP camps. And we have so many great sailors, like Anna has given back and coached a lot of clinics. Daniela's coached a lot of clinics. I'm really having fun in San Diego organizing clinics down here so like this Saturday, Chris Barnard is coming down and coaching a laser clinic for all the top laser sailors down here, because we've had a surge of kids sailing lasers, since single-handed sailing is one of the things you can do, have done this last year. We have Steve Hunt is coaching a lot of clinics. And so I think the future looks really good. But then we have this massive opportunity of the hometown advantage for LA 2028. So I think it's exciting. And if I can mention one more thing, U.S. Sailing and West Marine have started this great U.S. Open series with Olympic class regattas in Florida and California. And I think having that domestic training platform is really going to make the difference of getting a critical mass of our top sailors doing Olympic campaigns.
Well, the last time we had the games in Long Beach in 1984, it doesn't seem that long ago. Year-wise it was, but it doesn't seem that long ago. Our team did well. I think we had 3 golds and 4 silvers in the 7 different classes. So maybe home court advantage will play out. And of course, I think Betsy Allison's done a few clinics and seminars in her day. And Betsy, my question for you, after all that great racing you did for so many years, how did you make the transition to becoming a coach, taking all that knowledge and trying to, impart it in a different way, being a coach?
Well, I mean, it's really kind of interesting. I think a lot of times you start your coaching career based on how other people helped you and coached you along the way. And I was coached and mentored by some great people early on in my career, Joe Duplin and Kenny Legler at Tufts. And then, Dave Perry was one of my first coaches when I was sailing lasers in the early days. And, it goes on. And I think one of the other things that really helped me transition into the coaching side of things was all the different types of disciplines and boats that I was able to sail. And I think that helped by learning how to tune and adapt and develop and be able to explain to other people the steps that I had gone through over time, over the years, in learning new equipment and learning different conditions and learning how to apply myself to them. So I think, I took a lot of that from my own personal experience sailing, and then coaching the para guys. A lot of times people think, oh, it must be really difficult. But once you get around and understand the physical parameters that the sailors are dealing with, the tactics and strategy is all the same. So, taking what I learned through what I was able to apply on the water, it was easy to talk to them about it and help get them up to speed.
Well, Betsy, I remember watching you. Here we're looking at the Rolex women's keelboat regatta, that you always sailed with a lot of passion and a lot of energy. Do you coach with passion and energy?
Oh, I think you have to do everything with passion and energy. Otherwise you might as well be dead. But I think I've always looked at the sailing I've done, and yeah, sometimes people think I might be a little too passionate at times, and I've duked it out with JJ on the water plenty of times, and it's just such a fun experience, and it's nice to be able to leave what happens on the water and still be able to hang out with people once you get ashore and enjoy each other's company.
I wrote a book I published a year ago called Legends of American Sailing. And Daniela, I'm sorry that you're not in it, but when I do the next edition, surely you'll be there. But JJ, Anna, and Betsy are all in that book. And I must say, it was great fun doing research on you three and learning so much. And the more I wrote, the more impressed I got with that. So Anna, let me turn to you for a second. Let's go back to Qingdao, that final race in the laser radial, which was kind of a weird day. Wind all over the map, and you got off to, I think fair to say, a below average start. You thought you might have been over, and you weren't sure, and you went back, but you weren't over, but you now behind everybody. But that last leg was, I still get tears in my eyes when I think about that. Do you replay that leg every now and then in your head?
I definitely think about that race. And it's funny how it happens, and how, I wonder why sometimes it happened the way it happened. And I'm very thankful that it happened the way it happened. But, just kind of everything, the whole quad, all kind of came together on that, that second beat before the final downwind. And, I think a lot about, not necessarily the shift that I caught and the, the moving the positions, but once I got to the top mark, we were close enough to the rocks that you could hear everybody start cheering. And, I think that was really cool. And then the funny things that happened on the downwind leg. But, really, when I think of that race, I think of oh man, the OCS that wasn't actually an OCS. And then the second windward mark, when, you could hear everybody cheering, and realizing that at that point there, we were in the gold medal spot.
So you could hear all that cheering on shore. Did that give you some inspiration, kind of like a basketball team, or, somebody out there hearing all the yelling going on?
It did, except it was 5-6 knots of breeze, and I'd already gotten a yellow flag. So I couldn't really do much downwind. I just kind of had to sit extremely still and not get another flag.
So the yellow flag was for allegedly rocking the boat too much? Is that what?
Apparently I got it on a downwind leg in an earlier race in the regatta, yeah, so I must have been pushing the limits a little too much at some point.
I can't imagine why, with a gold medal on the line at that point. Daniela, are you looking forward to kiteboards being in the games when we go to Paris in 2024, or actually Marseille for the sailing?
Definitely, yeah. I think it's been on my mind a lot lately, especially with a lot of the male kiters are getting their campaigns kind of going, and we have a really good team and squad getting together that we'll be training with over the next few years. So I think it's just super exciting and definitely something I'm looking forward to. And I think that just until at least these games this year are over, I think it'll be cool to support the team that we have going to Tokyo, and then hopefully, do it all again in 2024, but hopefully even better.
I get mesmerized on YouTube. I wake up late at night and check out YouTube and watch some of the kiteboarding with all the tricks and ballet that go on. Do you do that part too, or are you strictly a speed specialist?
No, I just like I just like going fast. I don't know. I did a little bit of, I can jump, but I like the speed and I like the adrenaline that comes from speed. So definitely, yeah, just more into that. And that's what got me into racing.
One of the things I like about kites is all that color and patterns on the kites. And you can tell who's who by looking at the kite. And do you have a special pattern? Do you stay out with the same pattern on the kite, or do you change it around?
I've been changing it around the last few years, but I'm hoping to get something consistent for the next few years for the campaign. So you'll be able to spot me.
All righty. So JJ, I've got another tough question for you. Have you given out the first boys trophy yet?
Oh, Gary. Well, yes, I know that's. I sometimes regret that interview that I gave when I talked about wanting first boys.
Well, it's in the can. It's right on my shelf here.
Okay. But, Gary, seeing the 40 years of excellence of Rolex reminds me that, the CISA clinic over 40 years ago, you were my first CISA instructor. And out of that clinic, we had 3 Olympians. So you're no slouch of a coach yourself.
Oh, you're kind. Thank you very much. And I was there with Dave Perry, which was very cool. And he was young and up and coming, but boy, has he had quite a career as a coach, and he's helped all of us with. I think it's fair to say that Dave is one of the authorities on the racing rules of sailing in the world. And anyway, he's a good friend and a great sailor.
Yeah, he's amazing. I'm so glad that U.S. Sailing honored him with the big award last year, and I'm so fortunate he's been on our selection committee for the last 4 years and has agreed to serve going forward for this next quad, which is huge because his attention to detail and as you can imagine, the last year with all the COVID regatta postponements and cancellations was really tough, and he was. It was a lot of work, so he's a great guy.
Well, he won the Nathaniel Green Harrisoff Award, which is U.S. Sailing's highest honor. It's an award given for lifetime achievement, which is a little different than the Rolex Yachtsman or Yachtswoman of the Year Award, which is for a performance in that calendar year. And but Dave, as you point out, was certainly worthy of that. Betsy, of all the racing you've done over the years, is there one regatta that you're most proud of, that you look back and just kind of smile a little bit?
I think I don't think there's just one. For me, I know it sounds kind of crazy. Every time when I was sailing with the team, I enjoyed the people I was sailing with, and we always set high standards for ourselves. And as soon as it was over, I was always looking for what the next thing was, what the next adrenaline rush was going to be, what the next event was going to be. But I think probably one of the most memorable and the most fun was I can't remember which year it was in the Rolex series when we were doing the Women's Keelboat Championship, when we got into a match race with Jody Swanson before the start. And, there were helicopters filming and boats everywhere. And it seemed like everyone else on the race course, on the starting line, stayed away from the two of us as we went through all the maneuvers. And that to me was it was pretty cool because we had a match race within a fleet race, and it was for all the marbles. So I would say that one was pretty memorable.
Very cool. Of course, it's a little dangerous doing a match race within a fleet race because you can drive both of your back into the fleet. So you have to be careful and watch as you go along. So Daniela, do you find your competitors catching up? I mean, you came on so strong, and you were fairly young, I think, in 2016 when you won this award for the first time. Do you find it getting more competitive out there?
Yeah, for sure. I can definitely see, I mean, even now the girls are getting so much faster, and they're all training super hard. And at the same time, it's really cool to see the sport developing like that. And I think it'll be really exciting just over the next few years how, there has to be one guy and one girl from each country. You can't just have one. So I think that like team aspect is really interesting, and it's definitely going to bring gender equality to the sport, which is another really good thing, I think. And I think overall it's just super positive, but I'm definitely going to have to work even harder, which is good. It's good for you.
Well, speaking of gender equality in the Olympics, I'm proud that we have 175 male athletes and 175 female athletes now in the games. And starting in 2024, we'll have exactly the same number of medals, which is a long way where we were in 1988, the first time we had a women's division. But something happened interesting in Rio where we had this concept, a mixed crew in the NACRA 17, one male, one female on the boat, either could steer. And I think we had 20 boats and 8 women were helmswomen, and maybe 12 men steered in that. Anna, what do you think of this concept of mixed sailing in the Olympic competition?
I think it's great. I think, like I said in the beginning, sailing is one of those cool sports that you can do because so much of the game is mental. I think it does open the opportunity for equal playing field for both genders. The fact that then you can partner up for the best combination, whether it's strength or experience or a specialty in one area of the boat over the other. I think it's really great, and I'm looking forward to seeing if other classes go that way. I think the 470's gone that way for Paris, which is really cool. And I just think it opens up more opportunities and different opportunities, and will possibly bring more excitement into those Olympic classes.
I think the last time I was on the race course with me and Betsy and JJ, we were all together at the 50th anniversary of the E-Scout Blue Chip Regatta, and out in Wisconsin, which is great fun. But full disclosure here, I think the 3 of us finished below the fold. At least I know I was, and I think all 3 of us did. That was a great regatta. JJ, my question here, the E-Scout class is, believe it or not, coming up on its 100th anniversary. I think 2023, it's been around, continuously raced for 100 years. Why does a class like that last so long and keep evolving?
Well, my one experience was at that Blue Chip, and that was such a fun regatta. And what an amazing venue to be, sitting on that beautiful lawn, and then you just head out and start 5 minutes later, and fresh water. I mean, I've loved it. And at least we didn't have to do that bar walk dance, whatever they do.
So the bar walk is at the Pewaukee Yacht Club. If you're in last place at the end of the first day, you've got to walk the length of the bar, the whole crew in your underwear. And like you, I was glad it wasn't us. So, one of the fun things I had at that regatta was sitting there, and one of the greatest American sailors of all time, Buddy Melges, was there. He was not sailing. He was, I think, 86 at the time. And somebody walked up to him and said, Buddy, what's the secret to winning these boats? And he said, well, you got to present the boat to Mother Nature and just sail more quickly or than the other boats. You do that, you're going to win. Okay. You got it. Betsy, how did you've sailed scows a little bit growing up on Barnegat Bay. I know that, or at least M16s. What did you think of that Blue Chip Regatta?
It was amazing. It was, the luminaries, the sailors, the amount of talent there was incredible. And the boats were great. The crews all donated their time. And, I found it amazing. I was sailing with a young group of guys from White Bear Lake. And we had so much fun. One race, I actually got swept off the boat, and the boat sailed away from me with the spinnaker up, and they didn't even know I was gone for a while. And finally, they didn't capsize. They came back and picked me up, but it was so cool. The boats go so fast, and the racing was so close. And again, it was, to be ahead of you, Gary, sometimes, and to be ahead of Dave Ullman at other times, and and looking at who was ahead of you, it was crazy. It was a really exciting time.
Yeah, I mean, you're coming into the leeward mark, and I'm probably, I forget, maybe 14th out of 25 boats, 24 boats, and you look around, and there's Dave Ullman and Dave Perry and JJ Fetter, and I'm going, boy, I didn't think I was doing too well, but now I look around, I was feeling pretty good. All right, so a couple of questions here coming in from some of our guests that are watching here. So Anna, you've sailed single-handed, gold medal. You've sailed double-handed most recently, and you sailed triple-handed. Is there one discipline that you like more than the other?
No, I think they all had their own enjoyment. So the laser, obviously, it's all you. It's quite a physical boat. Loved the fact that it was all one design, so it was really kind of a mental fitness game. The match racing was just fun discipline. I mean, it's like chess on water. It's so cool to do. And then the 49er FX is just fast. That one was cool for me because it wasn't driving, so it was a big experience for me to switch positions altogether and give something completely new a try. But just the speed that you can get up to, and it's such an adrenaline rush going as fast as you can. So they all had their own, pluses that I really enjoyed.
Well, there's a new discipline being planned, which I sure hope happens, a double-handed mixed long-distance race for Marseille in 2024 and Long Beach in 2028. Anna, you're still very young. What do you think? Would you go try and do that, team up with some other guy and go for the double-handed long-distance race?
I'm going to sound like such a baby, but I really like my bed at night, and I really like showers, and I don't like being cold and wet.
Well, these races are only 400 to 500 miles long, 3 days, 2 nights, nothing to it. JJ, what do you think about the proposed offshore double-handed race?
Oh, I was going to say, I think Anna should definitely do another Olympic campaign. What about the 49er FX again? They came so close, and they had such a steep trajectory with their team. She and Paris had a wonderful campaign. So, but Betsy should do the offshore. She would be awesome at that.
Oh, I think my time is up on it. But Gary, I do think that this double-handed offshore is such a unique opportunity for the fan base. I mean, can you imagine people being able to play along and race against the Olympians in e-sailing at the same time that it's going on, and to be able to watch a sport 24/7 on film? I just think it would be an amazing addition to the suite of disciplines that are out there, and I for one would be super excited about watching it.
Yeah, and I think there'll be opportunities to do interviews during the heat of battle and the race out in the race course. And I mean, I think an awful lot of people followed the Vendée Globe, which finished about a month ago. Pretty exciting, and the Volvo Ocean race, and you can race against the competitors. They're out there in the dark with minimal electronics and weather routing, and here you are at home racing against them. I think it'd be one of the coolest things that we'd have in the Olympic Games. And JJ, the talk around U.S. sailing, what's the attitude toward this kind of discipline, long distance offshore mixed crew?
Oh, I think it's great. And we have so many sailors who you know, we have so much talent in this country, and sailors like Jonathan McKee, who've already done logged a lot of offshore miles. Stan Honey. So the number of competitors and coaches that we have, I think it'll be yet another event that the U.S. can be really strong and be very good medal potential.
And I think racing around the Channel Islands off the coast of Southern California would be immensely cool as well. So Danielle, are you in college now? I kind of lost track. And if you are, how are you balancing all your studies with your training?
I am. So I'm in my second year at the University of Hawaii studying business. And honestly, doing school online has been pretty awesome because I've been able to, I mean, you can't complain about being able to do your schoolwork from anywhere in the world, basically. So, like last fall, I spent the fall semester in Southern California a lot, and I was pretty much living my best surf bum life in my van and going surfing every morning, then going to class. So it's been pretty great. And now like I'm in Mexico and I get to train with a whole group and do my schoolwork outside of that. And I am super lucky with my schedule. I only have a couple Zoom classes a week. So I only have to actually be on my computer a few hours during the week. And then my other classes are just the professors uploading video lectures, and there's still deadlines, obviously, but you can all just watch it on your own time. So it's been really, really fun, and I feel super lucky to actually have been able to do all of that. But I definitely miss actually physically being in college and, like living with my friends and getting that experience. But hopefully there will be a time for that. And in the meantime, I really can't complain about what I'm getting to do right now. So, yeah.
Well, we're getting a little lockup here, so let me wrap up our discussion here tonight and say thank you very much to everybody for joining the panel. We'll be back on March 18th, Thursday night, exactly 2 weeks from now. We'll have the Yachtsmen of the Year with featuring Stan Honey and Ed Baird and Johnny Heineken and Paul Kayart. So I look forward to that discussion, and I hope you'll join us and tell people to watch our program tonight on U.S. Sailing on our portal. And I wish everybody have a healthy, vibrant, good year in 2021. Better days are ahead for sure.